Heyo, it's Grit. So, I've been a massive fan of FNAF since day one, watching Markiplier's first video on it when it first came out back in 2014. I've done my fair share of fan art since the game came out, but today I wanted to do something I've never really done before. Taking the original designs of Five Nights at Freddy's and making them, well, scarier. I personally love drawing horror-themed art, so this should be a lot of fun for me. Now, before we begin, I wanted to take a minute to explain why I'm doing this. Don't get me wrong, FNAF as a game is still terrifying to me. I find myself hard-pressed to go back and play it again solely because of the terrors it gave me as a kid. However, nowadays, whenever I look at the characters, I just see a lot of missed potential in their designs that could have made them way scarier than they already were. So, let's fix that. I'm gonna go through all of the characters in FNAF, Golden Freddy not included because he's basically just a recolor, and add my own little spin to each and every one of them to make them the way I think they should have looked. I'm not going to change too much when it comes to their base design. I don't want to take away the inherent creep factor that comes with a lifeless animatronic acting just a little too lively. I'm mostly going to redesign them with different proportions and some added details here and there that I think will heighten the design. Now, with all that out of the way, let's begin with Freddy. Okay, so, whenever I think of a bear, I think big, huge animal. So, I decided to depict Freddy as more of a massive animatronic by essentially shrinking the head and broadening out the shoulders. These little changes give the illusion that Freddy is this hulking giant of an animatronic that'll probably be as tall as the office if you let him in. Another thing I did was make the eyes just a little too small for the sockets, making it look like a pair of eyes inside a skull almost. Speaking of, I kinda try to make it look like a skull if you were to morph it into the shape of a cartoon bear. I even shaped the jaw and muzzle to give Freddy a permanent grin on his face, something that personally gives me the chills whenever I look at it. The next big change I made was adding filth all over the body. This was a detail that I'm surprised Scott didn't add to the animatronics, seeing as he himself said,
"If I were forced to sing those same stupid songs for 20 years and I never got a bath."
It just seems like an obvious detail to add, and it really adds to the decrepit feel of a pizzeria that's on the verge of shutting down. Again, like I said, I'm not going to be changing too many things about the characters, just making some slight adjustments here and there that I think would enhance the design. Now with that, let's move on to Bonnie. When I started working on Bonnie, I thought of how he'd be proportioned. I thought, where Freddy is this big hulking beast of an animatronic, Bonnie would be more of a tall and lanky figure by comparison. So I went with thinner, longer body proportions than Freddy on this one. I also gave Bonnie buck teeth because, you know, he's a rabbit. The biggest design change I made to Bonnie was giving him a flannel. It doesn't necessarily add to the creep factor, but personally, I think it fits him really well as the guitar player of the band, and if nothing else, it makes his attire more distinct compared to Freddy's, who already has a bow tie. This change alone took up so much of my time, because like an idiot, I decided to paint every square on the flannel individually, instead of finding another way to do it more efficiently. I don't have too much else to say about this one, just adding some filth to the body. Other than the flannel, it was mostly minor changes to the design. And with that, let's move on to Chica. Okay, so whenever I look at Chica's design, I consider her to have a rather pudgy look. So I decided, pun absolutely intended by the way, let's expand upon that. With the let's eat bib in mind, I decided to make her this grotesque monster almost, with an insatiable appetite to boot. Also, like the animatronics, I shrunk the eyes on the cupcake to give it a much more uncanny feel like the rest of the cast. Along with the fills all over the body, I decided to add pizza sauce to Chica's beak and bib to really make it seem like she actually eats, despite being a robot with no reason for an appetite. Aside from that, the only things I really did were change the proportions of the body and make the entire jaw unhinged rather than just the bottom beak. Not much else to say about this one, so with that, let's move on to our final redesign, Foxy. I'll be honest, there wasn't much I could really do to enhance the design of Foxy. He's already torn up and out of commission, and he's covered in considerably more filth than the others. So I just decided to do some small things like add wires and give him a permanently unhinged jaw. Except I'm fixing the goddamn eye patch because, why? Another thing I forgot to mention sooner is that I decided to remove the eyebrows from all the animatronics. In my opinion, the way the eyebrows were added make the animatronics seem a little too relaxed. So, removing them alongside making the eyes smaller gives the animatronics a much more uncanny look, I feel. There's not really much else to say about these redesigns, if I'm gonna be honest. Like I said, I didn't want to take away the inherent creep factor that comes from these lifeless yet lively animatronics. I just made slight adjustments here and there and threw in some details that I thought made sense. I said that these are the way I think they should have looked, but I would love to hear what you guys would have done differently to these characters. Let me know in the comments below how you would have redesigned the FNAF 1 cast. I'd love to read up on them. But yeah, not much else for me to say here. Thanks so much for watching the whole way through. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Heyo, it's Grid from Another Recording Time. I just wanted to quickly mention that I stream every night over on twitch.tv/Gridtastic. I would love to see you stop by and, yeah, hope to see you there.